and today we are talking about childcare, Head Start, and RI PreK in the state budget. My name is Lisa Hildebrand. I'm the Executive Director at Rhode Island Association for the Education of Young Children, and I'm a proud member of the steering committee for the Right from the Start campaign. Before we get started, we have simultaneous English-Spanish translation for this webinar. So if you look at the bottom toolbar to turn on the interpretation feature on your Zoom, it looks like a globe. If you select either English or Spanish, so you can hear our interpreter when she's interpreting our English words into Spanish or our Spanish words into English. So just take a couple seconds to make sure that you click that button, and then we are good to go. So we are here today on behalf of the Right from the Start campaign, a campaign led by a great team of advocates in Rhode Island to advance policies for young children and their families in the state. Right from the Start is a legislative and budget campaign that was launched in 2020 to advocate for policy changes that help ensure all young children and their families get off to the right start, regardless of race, ethnicity, immigration status, family structure, family income, or zip code. During the COVID-19 crisis, it's become even more clear that policies and programs that help families with young children are essential for a strong economy and public health. Investments now will help our state and Rhode Island's young children and families weather this crisis and emerge stronger on the other side. I wanted to take a few minutes to thank the General Assembly members who have joined us on our call today, all champions of issues important to children and their families in Rhode Island. In addition to Representatives Grace Diaz and Justine Caldwell and Senators Sandra Cano and Alana Demario, all of whom you will be hearing from in just a couple minutes, we also have with us today Rep. Liana Kazar, Rep. Carlos Tabone, Senator Josh Miller, and Representative Marianne Shawcross-Smith. Hope I caught everybody. And we may have some more joining us in just a little bit. So we appreciate all of your support and dedication and look forward to working with all of you this year. Okay, so we also want to recognize the members of the steering committee for the Right from the Start campaign. We have a number of agencies and organizations that make up the steering committee, including Beautiful Beginnings, represented by Khadijah Lewis-Khan, the Economic Progress Institute and Rachel Flum, the Latino Policy Institute and Marcella Bentoncourt, Rhode Island Association for Infant Mental Health and Susan Dickstein, myself, the Rhode Island Association for the Education of Young Children, the Rhode Island Head Start Association, and Mary Varr, and Rhode Island Kids Count, Leanne Barrett. We also have a large number of other campaign champions, and you can see the whole list on our website. And if you're interested in becoming a campaign champion, we would encourage you to visit our website and fill out the form so you can be included in our list. So we just wanted to review very quickly our 2021 campaign priorities. And as I said, this is the third webinar in our series. We have a number of webinars coming up, which we will show you at the end of today. And these are just some of the things that we are fighting for. So definitely to enact strong state and federal revenue policies, to pass the Child Care is Essential Act, to improve access to high quality, affordable child care, and also to pass the Rhode Island Early Educators Investment Act, which includes goals for early educator wages, and to improve our state's paid family leave program, which is also called TCI, or Temporary Caregivers Insurance. In addition to those, we are also advocating that the state cover community-based doula services through Medicaid and private health insurance, address our staffing crisis in our early intervention and home visiting programs, to maintain the state funding and access to our Rhode Island PreK and Head Start programs, and in just a few days to pass question 3 and question 5 on the special election ballot. This is a little bit more detail on the Child Care is Essential Act, which I just mentioned. This act is a bill that has been submitted on both sides of the General Assembly. Representative Grace Diaz and Senator Sandra Cano can talk about this a little bit in more detail. This will increase our rates for our Child Care Assistance Program, which is also called CCAP, to meet the federal equal access standard. The bill also will cap family co-payments for the CCAP program at 7% of the family income, which is the federal affordability standard, and also restore family eligibility in the CCAP program to 225%, and change the exit eligibility as well. In addition to that, we also would like to maintain the full state funding for our Head Start program, which right now is at $1.2 million in the state budget, and maintain full state funding for RI PreK, and that amount is $14.9 million. So before we throw a whole lot more information at you, we very much would like to welcome our early childhood champions. And today I am honored to officially welcome Representative Grace Diaz. Rep Diaz has represented the people of District 11 in Providence since first being elected in November of 2004. And among a lot of other roles that she holds in the General Assembly, she's the chair of the Legislative Commission on Child Care and Early Learning, and she is a tireless champion for child care programs and the children and families they serve. Please help me welcome Rep Diaz.
Thank you, Lisa. Very nice welcoming from you. I appreciate a lot. I would like to welcoming also all my colleagues in the House and the Senate. I don't have the names in front of me, but I'm very pleased and happy to work with you for some essential legislation that we have in front of us. I will not go into the fact or the importance of providing early quality education to children, but we know that humans, us children, since the moment of birth, we are in the process to learn. And the parents, teachers, and other people around children carrying on the biggest responsibility in is that providing education to children. We also know that from the National Research Council, the children has the brains of the children when they are in the process to development are more able, capable to learn the most important aspect of education, cognitive issues, and other things. So it's important for us to working hard and be able to provide quality education for children. The House bill that I don't have the number yet because I introduced it yesterday address many of the issues that the Rhode Island Permanent Legislative Commission on Child Care is working for more than 10 years. One of those is that every single member in some way put a lot of energy and heart and emotion to be sure that we have affordable access for child care in the state of Rhode Island for every single children. And it's something that motivated me every day to be part of the Child Care Commission. Also, we want to see how family can afford to maintain that access to the quality. And you heard in so many ways that every kid deserves quality education. And recently you heard about charter school and traditional school, and you know that there is no contradiction. Every single one in Rhode Island want quality education for children. So we want to be able to restore and increase eligibility to 225 and not just exit eligibility 200%, 300%. And the reason is, even though at this moment we are providing access to child care assistance, we have so many families that are making a little bit and they're not able to qualify. And then we are leaving behind those children. Education is a right for humans. That is what I believe. And it's even better when you're providing quality early education. So I'm very happy to push for that bill because address so many important aspects of what will bring all of us together today in the history of working to get to this point. So I'm happy to be here working with my colleague in the House and in the Senate for the Senate legislation, and happy to share this time with all of you and ready for any question that you may have. So thank you for the opportunity.
Rep Diaz, that was great. Our next early childhood champion is Senator Sandra Cano. Senator Cano is the chairwoman for the Senate Committee on Education and represents District 8 in Pawtucket since being elected in 2017. And I'm a little sad because I don't see her daughter with us today. So that's unfortunate because she usually steals the show a little bit. But we're very excited to have Senator Cano here with us today.
Thank you, Lisa. And good afternoon, everybody. Buenas tardes. I know that Ariana usually joins me for this amazing campaign. She's taking a nap, very well-deserved nap this morning, so that's good. I wanted just to start by saying thank you to Chairwoman Diaz for her passion, her champion. She's been a champion and quite honest, a mentor since I started going to the commission. I want to say to the members of the commission, your work is extremely valuable. And thank you for all you do every single day to advocate for our children in Rhode Island. And I'm really, really excited today to join you in stressing the vital importance of childcare in our state. I'll be particularly, I want to particularly thank my colleagues in the legislature and the dedicated members of the commission. At this time, I want to give a shout out to Vice Chairwoman Alana, Senator Alana Demario, and also the chairperson, Josh Miller, that, by the way, both of them co-sponsored the bill. Yesterday, I also submitted the bill, and I am very happy to report that this bill have already 20 co-sponsors in the Senate. So I am super excited and happy that there's a lot of support already. So I want to say that in Rhode Island, we need to have the care and access to affordable and quality child care education opportunities, and the time is now. If the COVID-19 pandemic has taught us anything, it is that these are several there are several systematic inequalities still present in our state, particularly in regards to opportunity available to our communities of color. The ability to secure quality, affordable childcare is one example of these inequalities that affect our communities of color more than most in our state. Yet, I have faith that these problems can be solved due to the dedication exhibited by those on this call today. It is for this reason that I will be happy to just, during this campaign, champion the Child Care is Essential Act, because child care is an essential service, and every working parent and their children fundamentally deserve the opportunity to access quality and affordable child care. Without it, parents are unable to provide for themselves, and their families and children are left behind emotionally, educationally, and socially. With so much uncertainty and despair surrounding our children these days, it is imperative that this legislation pass the General Assembly this year. I thank you for your advocacy, your dedication. And one thing that I really want to address is, I know that this has already been stated, but this legislation in particularly increased the rates for the Child Care Assistance Program to meet the federal equal access standards and help programs deliver high quality care. I want to make sure that you do know that this is already needed, and the work of 10 years need to be happening now. Like, we cannot wait anymore. So again, I want to reiterate the importance of this bill. Is dear and near to my heart, the Right from the Start campaign, because I do represent, and I do know as a parent, just like Representative Diaz do know, we do represent communities that are in desperate need of this legislation today. It has happened already for a long time. And I want to particularly say to all of you in this call, together we're making a difference. Together we advocated for what is right. And together we'll make sure that this year is the year to pass the Child Care Essential Act. So thank you so much for your passion. Thank you so much for everything you do. And again, this credit goes to you, and I really appreciate you.
Thank you so much. That was great. Such a motivating speech for all of us. Okay, so next up, we are going to switch gears again a little bit, keep everybody on their toes. And I want to introduce you to Khadijah Lewis-Kahn, who is the Executive Director of Beautiful Beginnings Childcare in Providence. And she is also a member of our Right from the Start Steering Committee. And she is going to walk us through some of the history of funding of the Child Care Assistance Program in the state.
All right, thank you, everybody. I'm already feeling the rah-rah, so I'm feeling ready to go. So the reason we're fighting for this funding for families and for children really is because of this slide and the research that tells us that these early years, the first 5 years of life, are so important for our children. The brain architecture is built in those first few years of life. So the foundation for the rest of the child's development is built in those first 5 years through consistent caring adults and relationships, stimulating environments, safe environments. That's what allows our children to build strong foundations for them to build on as their educational path grows. And what we know is that the disparities that we see, that as children enter elementary school, they start in the early childhood years. The word gaps, the 30 million word gaps by age 3 for children from low-income families versus children from high-income families, those gaps continue to grow over a child's time in the education system. So we want to start early. We want to give children the best foundation, the best chance to succeed. And we know that by providing them opportunities for high-quality care, that will be achieved. You know, that the achievement gap starts with an opportunity gap, and we want to fix that opportunity gap by shoring up our child care system. Okay, so this is a little bit of a history about the evolution of the Child Care Assistance Program in Rhode Island. In 1998, the Starting Right Act introduced legislation that programs should adjust the Child Care Assistance Program should be adjusted every 2 years to meet the federal equal access standard, so that low-income families can have the same access to high-quality care as people generally in the market. Okay, families with incomes of up to 250% of the federal poverty level could access subsidies with the legislation that was introduced in 1998. The General Assembly delayed full implementation of the family eligibility expansion to stopping at 225% of the poverty level. And then in 2007, there was a proposed cut by Governor Kachiri to move that down to 150% of the poverty level to access child care assistance. The General Assembly increased it to 180%. So families at 180% of the federal poverty level could access it. But that was still a big cut from the beginning legislation that was introduced for 250%. Rhode Island's child care assistance program's rates met the federal equal access standard in the early 2000s. So that is the last time that the rates were met, before COVID came along and allowed us to shore up our rates. But in 2008, the General Assembly repealed statutory language requiring that states adjust the rates to meet the federal equal access standard. In 2014, the bipartisan Child Care Development Block Grant was reauthorized by Congress, and that reaffirmed the needs for states to pay rates that meet federal equal access standards. In 2016, the Federal Office of Child Care put Rhode Island on notice that our rates were not meeting those standards. And in 2018, the General Assembly enacted legislation to implement a tiered quality rates, which we fought for quite a long time. So based on the Bright Stars quality rating system, this allowed programs that had higher quality to be reimbursed at higher rates to compensate for their increased costs. At this time, rates for infants and toddlers in 5-star child care centers were raised to meet the equal access benchmark. In 2019, the Federal Office of Child Care cited Rhode Island for noncompliance for equal access, requiring immediate base rate increases to avoid penalties. In 2020, we have a long history. In 2020, the Federal CARES Act allocated $8 million, and the Coronavirus Response and Relief Act allocated $23.9 million for Rhode Island child care. In June of 2020, through executive order by Governor Gina Raimondo, we implemented significant but temporary rate increases for programs serving children in the Child Care Assistance Program. These temporary increases have continued on a month-to-month basis. They're reauthorized every month by the governor. Since March 2020, the Department of Human Services has been paying child care programs based on children's enrollment and not attendance. That has been very, very helpful, especially during coronavirus, when sometimes classrooms have to quarantine or children have to quarantine at home with their families. So that has definitely helped stabilize programs' income throughout this period. And in February 2021, just this month, the Department of Human Services started covering 100% of family copays. So families no longer have copays if they're in the Child Care Assistance Program. The Department of Human Services is covering the full rate. This chart just shows the evolution of state funding versus federal funding for the Child Care Assistance Program. In 2005, I think that's when we had the highest state allocation for child care. The state was paying $56.2 million towards the Child Care Assistance Program, and federal funds were $23.4 million. If we look to today, and really over the last 12 years, the funding has been quite low. It's at $9 million of state funding right now, and $57.6 million is federal funding. So that's an 84% drop from 2005 till now in state funding for child care assistance. Temporary pandemic rates. So I think it was mentioned that these the things that are being enacted now are things that we've been fighting for 10 years. And the federal equal access has raised the rates to about $5.72 an hour, and that's what we needed. That's the foundation.
They never. I would say 7% of the time I see police interacting with someone.
That's a foundation for quality that we need. But our rates, our costs have increased due to COVID. And we have to remember that educators in early childhood education are the least compensated educators across the country, and that is because we still have more work to do on rates in childcare to really cover the true cost of care. Most families can't afford childcare without a subsidy, and I think that is what Representative Grace Diaz was talking about. That the federal affordability standard is that 7% of a family's income would go towards childcare. In order for a family to only be spending 7% of their income on childcare, a family with one child that's 3 years old would need to be making $155,000 a year. And current CACF current child care eligibility for a family of 3 is at about $39,500 a year. So our representatives on call who are championing the efforts to really increase that eligibility, that is going to make a huge difference for families, because childcare is not affordable without subsidies for most families. Between 2003 and 2006, families' copays were increased and child support enforcement was added as eligibility requirement. Between 2006 and 2007, eligibility for CCAP was cut, as we talked about, from 225 to 180% of the federal poverty level. And also, it's important to note that the older children, age 13 to 15, were eliminated from being eligible for child care assistance. In 2020, the COVID pandemic led to a steep drop in CCAP participation, and about right now, participation in the child care assistance program is down about 34%. And that's attributed to a lot of women leaving the workforce, or not having to work with kids that are doing homeschooling and all the other things that, all the other factors. So here's a short video about why childcare is essential. In Rhode Island, early childhood education is under-resourced in a lot of ways. I believe that kids, no matter where they're from, just need equal opportunity. Working with children in these early years is an exciting time. We know that their brain development is happening at the fastest rate that it will ever happen in the rest of their lifetime. Our youngest children deserve to be in a setting of high quality care where the educators are consistent, loving, attentive, and highly educated in the field of early ed. Over the last 12 years, the state funding for early childhood programs has actually decreased. So we're spending less than we were 12 years ago on early childhood education with state dollars. In order to have a strong system, we need to support all components of the system. Child care assistance, the state PreK, Head Start, and early Head Start, and be aware that families need support in paying for high quality. And investments in early education have been proven by economists to pay off at 7 times their rate of investment. A state and federal investment in early childhood education would help programs meet the quality standards that we need to meet in order to best serve our earliest learners.
I forgot to mention that she was in that video when she introduced it to us. So that video is shared on our Facebook page and also on our website if anybody's interested in using that. It's an amazing tool to just introduce folks into the world of early childhood education and all of the challenges that we face I would now like to introduce you to a family child care provider. Her name is Emma Villa, and she is a family child care provider and a member of the SEIU 1199 Union, who is here with us today from her program to speak with us about that program and the children and families that she works with.
Hola, muy buenas tardes. Mi nombre es Emma Villa, algunos me conocen y estoy muy contenta de estar aquí participando. Realmente estoy muy feliz porque creo que nos están tomando en cuenta, nos están realmente dando ese reconocimiento a nuestro trabajo. Yo sé que nuestro trabajo es muy delicado, nuestro trabajo es mucha responsabilidad, pero también es un trabajo de satisfacción porque nosotros vemos a los niños, nos los traen tan pequeñitos y van creciendo, van aprendiendo, realmente los vamos preparando para ir a la escuela. Entonces, realmente creo que es muy importante lo que se está haciendo en este momento porque nosotros, a pesar de la pandemia, seguimos dando la misma calidad de trabajo y yo creo que con un poco más de esa entrega hacia nuestros niños, hacia nuestras familias, porque vemos también las necesidades de las familias, vemos esa frustración de esos padres que realmente tienen a sus hijos y que no pueden ir a un daycare porque el ingreso de ellos por la mínima parte que hace la diferencia, no le están dando esa elegibilidad. Entonces, es un poquito triste porque en mi caso yo tenía 2 niños que se quedaron casi 5 meses en la casa y realmente es retrasar el aprendizaje de ellos porque cuando ellos regresan ya no hay ese seguimiento que uno tiene todos los días con ellos, entonces hay que comenzar otra vez. Entonces, si esos niños que se han quedado en la casa por unos cuantos meses, estamos viendo ese atraso que hay, me imagino que también es a esos niños que están en los hogares, que los cuidan los familiares o que realmente el papá está trabajando y no lo puede atender como debería de ser. Entonces, eso es un atraso para la escuela, eso es un atraso para cuando ellos llegan ya a kinder, realmente porque ellos no tienen los conocimientos que nosotros como proveedoras en el hogar les estamos dando. Los estamos enseñando a ser individuales, nos estamos enseñando a que ellos puedan ser ya independientes. Y realmente creo que en esta situación que estamos viviendo de la pandemia nos ha enseñado realmente la sensibilidad de cada persona, porque realmente es tan triste en la situación que nosotros vivimos. En mi caso, yo desde que abrí, la gobernadora dijo que abrieran, yo estoy abierta, no he cerrado, tengo 2 niños, pero aún así siento que no me puedo dar el lujo de decir, ok, yo voy a cerrar y me voy a ir a colectar, porque esos niños siento que me necesitan. Entonces, ese padre tiene que ir a trabajar. Entonces, esa es la situación que cada de nosotras estamos viendo. Muchas de nosotras, si no tenemos niños, es porque no hay la elegibilidad o porque realmente la situación que se está viviendo es algo complicado. También creo que en la parte de que sí necesitamos, yo creo que un poquito más de un incentivo económico para poder nosotros también solventar las situaciones que estamos viviendo como familias, como proveedoras. Tenemos que ver más allá de solamente sentarnos y enseñar, sino que ahora tenemos que cuidar la salud de nuestros niños, la salud de nosotros, la salud de nuestros familiares. Entonces todo eso es un grupo de situaciones que nos llevan a veces a ponernos a pensar, ¿qué va a pasar? ¿Qué vamos a hacer si realmente no tenemos lo suficiente para poder seguir dando ese trabajo? para poder seguir enseñando a nuestros niños. Yo estoy muy feliz de, aunque tener dos, pero saber que sigo haciendo mi trabajo, sigo haciendo lo que me gusta. Entonces, podría tomar la decisión de no hacerlo, pero esa es mi pasión y les agradezco de verdad que en este paquete estamos incluidas nosotras las proveedoras, porque realmente han pasado muchos años en los cuales no nos han dado esa valor, ese reconocimiento de lo que nosotros hacemos, porque no es que sustituyamos a los papás, pero creo que cuando los niños llegan a nuestros hogares, estamos así abiertos a darles ese amor, ese cariño, esa atención individual. ¿Por qué? Porque yo tengo mis nietos y si mi hija decide llevar a mis nietos a otro daycare, a mí no me gustaría que mis nietos los trataran mal. Entonces, yo trato de que para mí todos son míos, todos son mis niños. Cuando ellos están conmigo, les entrego lo mío, cocino todos los días. ¿Por qué? Porque me gusta ver que ellos se sientan a comer con esas ganas y que te dicen, Emma, the food is good. Esa es la satisfacción de uno, pero sí necesitamos ese apoyo, sí necesitamos esa introducción a ser más parte de todo esto que realmente se está haciendo, porque vuelvo y repito, si no hay también ese apoyo económico, aunque yo quisiera seguir, tengo que buscar una manera de sobrevivir, porque está bien que soy feliz con mi trabajo, pero mi casa no me la van a pagar porque yo diga, bueno, yo estoy contenta con mi trabajo. Entonces hay que ver las necesidades también de cada una de mis compañeras, porque yo puedo hablar por mí, pero hay muchas realmente que están pasando situaciones más difíciles. Entonces yo creo que sí, debemos empujar un poquito más para que esto se haga consciente de que es una necesidad, no es algo que lo queremos por lujo, sino lo queremos por necesidad, porque en este momento lo estamos viviendo.
Thank you so much, Emma. And I also want to recognize that Maria Fajardo is here with us today from SEIU 1199. Thank you both so much for joining us, taking time out of your day. Our family child care providers are a very important part of this child care system, and especially now. And we need to make sure that you have a voice as well. Representing our Head Start community here with us today is Mary Varr, who is the Executive Director at Woonsocket Head Start Child Development Association. Mary's going to talk to us about Head Start and the importance of Head Start in our system, and also about our RI PreK system, because she does child care, Head Start, and RI PreK in Woonsocket.
Thank you, Lisa. Yes, so there are 7 Head Start, seven Head Start nonprofit agencies in the state that serve early Head Start, which is 0 to 3, and Head Start children 3 to 5. And we serve every single city and town in the state between all of those. The bulk of our funding comes from the federal government contracted directly to our agencies. And in the 1980s, a little bit of history, the General Assembly had began allocating state general revenue to allow 500 additional children ages 3 and 4 to enroll in Head Start, which was much needed. And however, in 2008, Governor Kachiri proposed to eliminate all state head funding for Head Start. However, the General Assembly preserved state funding for 130 children. In 2018, Governor Raimondo and the General Assembly authorized $390,000 increase in state funding for Head Start. And that was to meet the federal per child costs for our 130 state-funded Head Start seats, which is about $1.2 million. And that was much needed. So here is a chart that just kind of gives the history of the number of children enrollment that we have had in Head Start. So these are federally and state funded Head Start slots. You can see that big dip that we had in 2006, there was a big dip, and in 2008, and we have keeps going down. So we are still not at the level that we were back in 1998. Fortunately, we've had an increase in state pre-K. All of our Head Start programs run state pre-K programs, but we're leaving out a large majority of our 3-year-old children from having seats in high-quality centers. Before I get into the recent history of RI Pre-K, I wanted to just tell a little story. It is from my administrative secretary, who was herself a Head Start child, and she wrote this and sent this to me the other week, and I thought it was inspiring. It's always inspiring to hear from former Head Start children or Head Start parents. So she spoke about the vision of our agency that strives to achieve and promote self-confidence, resiliency, and lifelong success. So she is saying that she is the embodiment of this. She was raised as a first generation in a multilingual household, the oldest of 4 future Head Start kids, to a teen mom and an older abusive alcoholic father who suffered financial dysfunction, among other issues. She says that Head Start was a haven for her siblings and herself during those impressionable developmental years. It was here at her Head Start program that she learned her insights were valuable, and that it's okay to have a difficult day, and that curiosity shepherds growth. With parents who didn't practice these beliefs, as time passed, her road traveled away from Head Start, and lessons were lost, and she got into the pattern that her family had been in before, and repeated the generational missteps. She ended up marrying an abusive substance abuser, who she is not married to anymore, but is still dealing with that and anxiety and depression from that. So her finances have been handicapped, and she became homeless. When that happened, which she says is her all-time low, she found herself back on the steps of Woonsocket Head Start. And Head Start nourished the meek light inside of her and continued to transform her life for the better. Inside these halls of Head Start, Miss Claudia planted the seed of potential. Miss Melanie showed her son differences are acceptable. Miss Karen gave Rita encouragement, and Miss Mary guided. So what I also want to say about Elise is that at this time when her son was in our program, she got involved, and she became, on our policy council, she became the chair of the policy council. And then she left the chair of the policy council to start working with us. Her last paragraph is just really goes to my heart. Head Start is the global village the world needs. It takes a village to raise a child, but takes only one child to change the world. I'm not sure how this path twists or ends, but with the tools bestowed on me from Head Start's loving hands, I walk chin up and valiantly lead. And that's a testament to Head Start of how we help generation after generation. And although some children and adults may stumble, they find their way back and they find their way out of it. And that is why Head Start and preserving state Head Start funding is so important to us. Thanks for giving me that moment to do that, to share that. For recent history of Rhode Island State Pre-K, this was launched in 2009 with $700,000 in state funding for 126 4-year-olds. That's not a lot of classrooms. So Head Start agencies, childcare programs, and public schools received contracts to deliver the program and meet these high-quality standards. In 2010, the Rhode Island Education Funding Formula passed and included categorical state funding for Rhode Island Pre-K, with the plan to gradually increase funding to serve all 4-year-olds in a diverse delivery system. In 2018, state funding reached $6.2 million. Combined with $6 million in federal funds, RI Pre-K served over 1,000 4-year-olds not enrolled in Head Start. And in 2019, state funding rose to $14.9 million as previous federal funding expired. RI PreK served 1,424-year-olds not enrolled in Head Start. In 2020, state funding remained at $14.9 million and added $4.2 million in new federal funds to expand to reach about 1,726 4-year-olds not enrolled in Head Start. And in 2021, RIDE announced $4.5 million in new federal funding to expand RI PreK by 200 seats for the fall of 2021. The current, there's a chart of the enrollment that we have increased, and the expansion for 21-22 is pretty exciting. We've got 5 funding models in the RFP, which is now open to childcare programs, Head Start programs, public schools, and non-public schools. They had a webinar yesterday with information about it to all that were interested. Questions are due by this Friday at noon, and pre-K proposals are due 4 p.m. on March 23rd. They will announce the grantees in April, and the online lottery for all pre-K programs will begin April 30th to July 5th. Children will be notified hopefully by July 8th, 2021, and we are hoping we are ready to be in person every day in September.
Okay, thank you so much, Mary. Thank you all for sticking with us. We are still going. So you've heard a lot today from providers, from advocates, from our elected officials, but now we want you to hear from a parent, and Jeanette is here to remind us about what high quality early education really means for families. And so I would like to welcome Jeanette.
Hi, everybody. My name is Jeanette Perez, and I'm a parent of a child who is attending pre-K at Beautiful Beginnings. I have been blessed to have the opportunity of having my children attend other programs like Head Start and childcare throughout Providence. So I'm here today to express the importance of these programs and why you should support the Right from the Start legislative agenda, specifically maintaining full state funding and children's access to childcare, RI PreK, and Head Start. I have a long, hard journey with experiencing affordable and equitable childcare services for the past 7 years to be exact. I was a full-time student at Rhode Island College, pursuing my bachelor's and master's in social work while working a work study and graduate assistantship position. When my journey began with the obstacles of childcare for my child, childcare services were very expensive, and I was not eligible for childcare assistance through the state. When my daughter Jazz, who is 10 right now, when she turned 3, I was ecstatic because she was finally eligible to attend a free but high quality Head Start program at Children's Friends. This was one less barrier for me. She was gaining the necessary tools for her to thrive socially and emotionally, and I was able to focus on my education to better provide for her. So currently, my 4-year-old daughter, as I stated previously, is attending pre-K at Beautiful Beginnings. She was in Head Start for a while, and then she also attended a home daycare provider, so shout out to the home daycare providers. But it was difficult for us to pay, because we're living paycheck to paycheck at the time. However, my son is also attending that same home daycare provider, so we figure it out and we pay what we gotta pay because we know how important it is, and we love her. So shout out to his home daycare provider, Francia. When I found out that Jade was eligible for the pre-K program at Beautiful Beginnings, I could not believe it because I was trying to get the 10-year-old into that program. So Beautiful Beginnings, as you may know, is a high-quality program and one of the best to me in Rhode Island. If this program was not offered, we would have never been able to afford tuition and would have never had the opportunity to experience a high-quality program that would help my child develop a foundation for a lifetime of learning. As a former AmeriCorps member at Ready to Learn Providence, our work was based on early childhood and the importance of establishing early learning standards for children from birth to 3. I know personally and professionally the impact these types of services have on my children and the children in our communities. Without the support of these programs, many families in Rhode Island would not have this opportunity. Although I was not able to use child care assistance, I know that it is very important, and it's a very important tool to provide access to affordable, high quality child care for families with children from infancy through before and after school programming. Investments in early childhood have proven long-term benefits for children, their families, and society. Effective early childhood programs and family support initiatives provide a solid foundation for development and learning. And it's also there to help to prevent and reduce achievement gaps and impact the likelihood of success for children throughout their life. So this statement proves that the groundwork for successful experiences in the education system is largely established before kindergarten even starts. So please do not forget to take action and vote yes on question 5. Thank you. Community member, parent, and change maker, Jeanette Perez.
That was amazing, Jeanette. Thank you so much. Thanks for putting a voice to all of the families that they're the reason we're doing this work, right? And I think we're going to bring you with us to talk to the General Assembly when we are testifying on these bills. So we will get your number from Khadijah. Okay, so next up is Representative Justine Caldwell. She was elected in November of 2018 to serve the residents of District 30 in East Greenwich and West Greenwich, and serves on the House Education Committee and the House Small Business Committee. And she also knows a lot about young children because she is a mom as well. So please welcome Justine.
Thank you so much, Lisa. You took the words right out of my mouth. I want to bring Jeanette to every committee hearing we have related to these issues. So thank you for sharing your story. That was wonderful. And for all those who I saw last week, I do still have a quarantined small child at home. So he might pop in, although it's not a cooing little baby anymore. So I just want to thank my colleagues in government who are here, Grace and Sandra and Alana, and the other folks from the House and Senate who are here, because I think we have such a strong coalition in the General Assembly to really be bold and strong and forceful in getting these bills passed this year. I also want to give a thank you to the commission members because we have always valued you as women and mothers, knowing how essential you were to us being able to work and raise our children and have them be healthy and smart. And this pandemic has laid bare to everyone, I think, how valuable you are and your impact on our lives is every day, and I appreciate it. You know, we have a new opportunity right now with a new governor coming in to make sure that we keep the funding for our Head Start and PreK here in Rhode Island. You know, as we think about getting back to normal with getting kids back to school and getting parents back to work, you know, now is not the time to leave parents hanging at home without places for their young children to go, because if we don't have places for our kids to go, then we cannot go back to work and we cannot get back to normal and, you know, participate in the new vibrant economy. Our kids have already lost so much this year. I see it with my own kids. So my youngest is 6, so she is in kindergarten this year, and I have a 9-year-old. And our kids have lost so much. They have lost so much learning. They have lost so much socialization. They have lost with parents who are now unemployed and struggling. And of course, our most vulnerable have lost more than they already were. And so, you know, this is not the time to be making cuts to these programs. This is time to be bold and to be strong and to insist that we pass our child care essential bill in the House. We have some great new strong supporters, Marianne Shawcross-Smith, who I think is on this call. We're so excited to have her as such a powerful advocate in the House, and, you know, proud to all sign on to Chairwoman Diaz's bill. And I think that this is something I live every day, so I'm very passionate about it, and I love to talk to people in the House about it, and I'm going to bring Jeanette along with me to do that. And so I think this is our year. So I want to thank everyone. I'm really grateful and proud to be on such an amazing team.
Thank you so much. And last but certainly not least is our newest senator who is joining us. Senator Alana Demario was just elected in 2020, and she serves District 36, which is North Kingstown and Narragansett. And she is also the new co-chair of the Legislative Commission on Childcare with Representative Diaz. Alana has professional experience working with very young children and their families, and is also a mom as well. So welcome, Alana.
Thank you so much. So, and I want to thank again everyone on this panel who has been doing the policy and legislative work on these important issues for so long. I do want to speak from my previous professional experience a little bit, and also my personal experience as a mom on this issue. And specifically, I want to talk about the individual and community impacts that these policies have, because I think, we've all seen, and I think everybody agrees and understands how important early childhood education is for the child. But what I want to talk about is how important it is for other people in the community and for other family members as well. So for the last 10 years, I've supported new moms. And, one of the things that I usually listen to them struggle with is their ability to even be able to return to work due to the issue of being able to afford childcare. And not only does this affect the financial situation of that individual family, but it also means that our community is missing out on the talents and contributions of those people in their professional capacities. So we are missing teachers, we are missing healthcare workers, we are missing behavioral healthcare workers, retail and other essential employees from our communities because of this barrier to them being able to both afford childcare and do the work that is essential to our community. And this also means that businesses and other organizations are losing their skilled and valued employees because of this barrier to them being able to have a safe and appropriate and affordable place for their children to go while they work. And really it means women, because let's face it, when it comes to childcare sacrifices, usually it is the women, they don't have the chance to pursue the work that they want to do. And it is a wonderful thing to choose to stay home with your children, but it is really hard when that choice is taken away from you due to circumstances outside of your control. And the more that we can work to remove those barriers and give families and women more of that choice, I think the better off we're all going to be. And then I also just want to take a minute to speak to the other human and community side of this, which is the workers themselves, the childcare workers themselves. As Representative Caldwell was just saying, I am only able to go out and do the work that I do in the community because I know that I can have safe and enriching and consistent and appropriate places for my children to go. And those situations can only be created when the people who are providing them are taking care of themselves. So when they know that they can meet their own family's needs, when they know that they can meet their own needs, they can stay in those roles and they can help to provide that safe and consistent and enriching environment that our children need. And then, when we're able to create that foundation, all of the children of Rhode Island are better off for it. They are going to be our future workforce, our future leaders. And, as all of the excellent information presented today showed, having that foundation is so critical to being able to get them there. And so I just want to add my voice to everybody's here that is saying that it is absolutely time to recognize and prioritize childcare as the essential part of our entire community that it is, for our children, for our families, and for everybody else who lives and works in Rhode Island. So thank you very much for this opportunity to speak.
Okay, thank you all so much. Thank you all for participating on the webinar. Thank you for watching us out in Facebook land. And we will also put this recording on our website and also share the slides. We have some upcoming Zoom events that we want to continue to remind you about. Our next in the webinar series will be on our Rhode Island's paid family leave program. We're also trying to find a date to identify a date for our community-based doula services advocacy, and then in April we will be talking more about those wages that Senator Demario just talked about and our Rhode Island Early Education Investment Act. And then don't forget Strolling Thunder and the 10th anniversary of Rhode Island Child Care Awareness Day is also coming up very quickly. So we will be identifying a date for that, and we will let you all know. If you want to continue to get involved, follow us on Facebook, become a champion on our website, and we need as many advocates advocates fighting for this in our General Assembly as we possibly can. We have hearings all of the time, and so we look forward to working with everybody. Thank you all, and have a great afternoon and enjoy the sunshine.
Thank you. Don't forget to vote.
Oh, yes, thank you. That too.
1, 3, and 5.